G'day there guys, thinks being Australian is a personality trait here. Back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love this video, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a like on the video, a prawn on the barbecue, and enjoy the bloody good content. Posted by user ThrowRA_Skid, titled, Would I be the a-hole if I didn't go to my daughter's weddings? Now, 2 of my daughters are getting married on the same day. I know, shake my head. The older one thought that the younger one did it to be malicious, but we have since confirmed that the wedding hall that the younger one wants to get married at only had a limited amount of slots, and that the next available slot is almost a year later unless someone cancels. On top of that, they're getting married on separate sides of the country. My husband and I decided we would each go to one of their weddings, but now both of them are upset, because my older daughter wants me at her wedding, and my younger daughter wants her father to walk her down the aisle. Okay, fine, we'll switch. Nope. My younger daughter wants me at her wedding, and my older daughter wants her father to walk her down the aisle. I'm about ready to throw my hands up. I was on a 3-way with my daughters this morning, giggity, and they were bickering so much that I just got fed up and said that I wasn't going to either wedding and hung up. I felt bad about it a little later, but I honestly think that this is the best solution if they can't be adults and decide this amongst themselves reasonably. Yeah, I don't think you're the a-hole for dipping out of this. You can't lose if you're not involved, but you also can't win if you're not involved, so really there isn't any winning in this situation. There is no right answer. I would probably just stick to your original plan, have one parent go to one wedding and the other go to the other, and just deal with the fallout afterwards. At least they have a parent at their wedding and they don't have no one. OP not the a-hole. Your daughters are playing a very hurtful game of chicken. Whichever daughter picked her wedding date second, knowing it was the same date, and doing so because the venue she wanted was only available on that date, made a choice. She picked her venue over her relationship with her sister. That was the choice. Get married somewhere else, or get married on the same day as your sister, and force all mutual family/friends to choose. She picked, and the consequences of that decision should fall on her. Yeah, whoever chose second, sounds like younger, is a total a-hole. They could have chosen another one of the infinite wedding venues available, not the a-hole. Also, it's 1 year wait. Many people have waited much longer than that for weddings. Hell, I've waited longer than that for a doctor's appointment. There is no reason to ruin her sister's wedding like this other than out of spite. If nothing else, have a courthouse wedding now and the party in a year. You're the a-hole. Youngest daughter is a bigger a-hole, but this is not a situation where both daughters are equally to blame, and it is not reasonable to throw up your hands and walk away as if they are. Treating people the same when they are not equally to blame is not being fair. One daughter chose a wedding date that had no conflicts. The other daughter chose to schedule her wedding on the same day as her sister so she could have the venue she wanted. The first daughter wants her parents to attend her wedding as originally planned. The second wants her parents to cancel their pre-existing plans to attend her sister's wedding in order to attend hers. Did you always throw your hands up when the younger sister started conflict, call it a squabble, and blame both? That could be how this level of entitlement from the youngest daughter came to be. Oh, actually, that probably is going to make me change my decision to you're the a-hole. That's very concise, and I like the way they've put it. This is exactly what happened with my younger brother and I, and exactly how he turned out. My mum was always tired of us fighting, so instead of ever stepping in and teaching him, well, anything, she would go, "You're both to blame." If she wanted anything, I was the one causing problems by not 100% giving in, rather than him causing problems by demanding things that weren't his or throwing fits when he didn't get his way. On my first read of OP, I thought not the a-hole, but honestly I agree with this. Older daughter had the date first, the younger one really couldn't find a different venue that would be suitable for a different date the same year? Really makes you think. You're the a-hole. While it's very unfortunate your younger daughter would have to get married on the same day as her sister, or a year from now, she made a decision that knowingly would force her parents to choose one daughter over the other. It doesn't take a genius to figure out if two girls are having their wedding on the same day, the parents wouldn't be able to attend one. Unless your younger daughter is so intellectually disabled, she's incapable of understanding that a human being can't be in two places at once, she decided to pick that date with the expectation he would not attend her other sister's weddings and attend hers. So, you're actually wrong. Your daughter did do it maliciously, and she did it knowing her older sister would suffer and not get her parents at the wedding. So if you go to the younger daughter's wedding, you'll make it very clear that you love your younger daughter more than your older daughter. Now, I'm assuming that since the older daughter's date was already set, if she changes the date, she would lose all of her deposits. Now, if the younger daughter is willing to pay for the older daughter to have a change of date, then everything should be fine, and younger daughter can pay for the cost to move the older daughter's wedding. Your daughter made this decision knowing, or at least heavily assuming, you would give in to her demands. She assumed from previous experience that if she put you between a rock and a hard place, that you would choose her over her older sister. This situation could have been completely avoided, but the younger sister didn't want to think about anyone but herself. And you'd be the a-hole if you didn't attend either weddings too, because you would only be punishing the older sister. Posted by user, Am I the A-hole stupid cousin? Titled, Am I the a-hole for still holding my cousin's mistake against him? Back in February, I needed to have my wisdom teeth removed. I knew I wouldn't like being awake during the surgery, so I decided to get general anesthesia. My cousin Joe wasn't working then and didn't have much going on, so I asked him if he could bring me to the appointment, wait there while I had the surgery, and take me home and keep an eye on me until the anesthesia fully wore off. He was fine with it, and I made it pretty clear that I'd be acting like a blacked out drunk person, so he'd have to be responsible for me. Joe took me to the surgery, but when I got out, he was gone. The doctors called him, but he didn't pick up. I was very out of it at the time, so I stayed longer to rest, and was eventually able to call a friend to pick me up. After I felt better, I asked Joe where the hell he was. And it turned out he decided to go get coffee and figured he'd just hang out at the coffee shop because it was more comfortable. He didn't tell the receptionist that he was leaving. He had expected me to call him and tell him I was done. He ignored the calls from the doctor because he didn't recognize the number and thought it was spam. Eventually, he went back to the doctor to check on me and they told him I had left. So he figured I was fine and saw no reason to find out if I was actually safe. Since then, I've been pretty cold to Joe. I'm upset at how stupid he was and how he thinks of it as a simple misunderstanding and doesn't accept that it was his fault. My family, aside from my parents, thinks I should forgive Joe. My aunt, Joe's mum, said that I'm an adult and should have gotten a local anesthesia and shouldn't be relying on Joe. Am I the a-hole for still being mad at him? No, Joe's dumb. This is entirely on Joe. He sounds like he's just deflecting blame because he was being lazy. I would know because I've been lazy like this in situations myself, so Joe has absolutely no excuse. There is absolutely nothing wrong with still holding this against him. The mum is enabling him so hard. And he really needs to learn this lesson that he shouldn't just abandon you like that and then assume you're okay. Like, how old are you, buddy? Are you 15 years old? Are you 12? Are you dumb, Joe? OP, not the a-hole. But also, did he ever apologize or acknowledge that he ever screwed up? No. He acted like it was just a misunderstanding and it wasn't really his fault. He's never had general anesthesia before and thought I was exaggerating at how helpless I'd be and assumed I'd be able to let him know that I was ready to leave. In my opinion, you can't forgive someone who isn't sorry. You absolutely can forgive someone who isn't sorry, so that it stops eating at you. However, forgiving someone and giving them that responsibility or trust again isn't necessary for forgiveness to occur. You know, this is a good point. Thank you. I guess I see, or rather feel, a difference between accepting that someone can't be trusted and gradually not resenting them for it, and forgiveness, which is giving them a chance at regaining trust. My grandmother once told me that forgiveness is for the person who was hurt, not for the person who did the hurting. You let it go so that it doesn't consume you. Choose apathy if you have to, but that doesn't mean that you're friends again. Not the a-hole, but Joe is an a-hole, and your aunt is a gigantic a-hole for commenting about how you're an adult and shouldn't be relying on Joe. What a horrid woman. You were heavily medicated after having a medical procedure. What did she expect you to do? She's the biggest a-hole here. She meant that I could have avoided all of this by getting local anesthesia. She believes that I wimped out by deciding to be unconscious instead. I had local anesthesia getting my wisdom teeth out. I got my bottom ones out, then my top ones a few years later with a different surgeon. Both times, they wrote me a script for Valium to take before heading to the appointment. I didn't ask for it, and they doped me up on laughing gas when I got there. I think it's pretty standard. So even if you stay awake, they still give you enough drugs to the point where you shouldn't drive yourself. Exactly. This was my experience as well. I had local, but with the Valium and everything they gave me for the surgery, I was in no position to drive. That's fairly standard. And OP replies, I didn't know that. I didn't look into getting a local anesthetic because I knew I would be more comfortable going completely under. I'll mention it to her if she brings it up again. God, going under is just such a trip. It's just time just passes so fast. You just wake up groggy and you're like, oh my god, what happened? Posted by user Kinky A-hole Throw. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting my flat to be kink friendly and potentially getting my flatmates evicted? So, I'm 20 male and have just moved in with 3 people at uni. Sarah, Joey, and Michelle. Fake names, obviously. Sarah and Joey are dating and part of a fairly sizable fetish community locally, and they go to a lot of gatherings and are generally fairly openly kinky. Grand. You do you, go nuts. We moved in together for the upcoming year, and all was going pretty well until 2 days ago, when I came home and Michelle immediately pulled me into her room to explain that Joey and Sarah had put up a ton of LGBT and fetish-related flags all over the living room. Side notes, TIL about fetish pride flags. There are a lot of them. They are only those little hand-sized flags, but they're in a big chain thing across one wall of the living room. Then there's some quote-unquote art. It's just close-up pictures of genitals that I'm 100% certain include the 2 of them and the other people from their little club. Then there's a shelf that used to have a couple of tiny cacti on it that now has a leather mask, riding crop, and condom ball. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that we were both obviously beyond uncomfortable with the entire situation. We sat Joey and Sarah down and told them we were uncomfortable and it all had to go. They said it was unfair because it was their lifestyle and they wanted people who came over to the flat to know it was a kink-friendly place to be yourself, and for any guests or additional partners that might come over, and that the living room shouldn't be a place of oppression, unless it's consensual. I said it absolutely fudging wasn't, and the only kink-friendly place to be yourself was your private spaces, and that the living room wasn't a place for sex when it's shared. They feel like they'd made their lifestyle clear before we moved in, and that the living room is shared, and therefore they can do what they like in it. Michelle and I explained this situation to the housing company we're living in, and asked if we could break the lease and move into a 2-bed together. The manager we spoke to went nuts, and screamed at Joey and Sarah that he wanted them out and was going to contact his lawyer. I think he's under the impression that they are going to have loads of people over for sex parties all the time, and we can only have a limited number of guests. Also, that it's disgusting. Some of our mutual friends are furious that we've potentially made them homeless over a few flags and kink things. So, am I the a-hole Reddit? I'm of the mind that they were absolutely overstepping their bounds here by replacing all the living room furniture there and, putting that on the other 2 people that didn't consent to this level of modification to their place. Also, it doesn't sound like they got permission from the homeowner. And yeah, there's no way that OP could be the a-hole for flipping out about that and saying, hey, yo, I don't support this. I don't think anyone else is going to support this besides you guys. So therefore, I don't think you're the a-hole, OP. Consent in the kink community is massive. You don't get to involve vanillas against their will, shared spaces are not for sexy stuff in rented accommodation, and they are being gross expecting this. You can be friendly and welcoming without kink paraphernalia. A condom bowl? Screw that. Let them all ride each other in their bedroom, not on the shared couch. Look, I could deal with the flags, and hell, even the condom ball if they were filled with funny ones, like those pin boxes at Hot Topic, lol. But pictures of genitals and items they've obviously used during sex is too much for me. Edit, I had no idea how many gimmick condoms were out there. Think I might make the condom ball a reality, maybe with a sign saying, for looking, not using. And if I notice some missing, I'll add, warning, all were poked with pins. When I travelled to the UK, I bought a condom that had the Loch Ness Monster on it. It said something along the lines of, release the serpent on the outside. I still have it somewhere like 6 years later. I'm not going to use it, but I'd love to collect all the goofy ones from around the world. Yeah, that's just too goddamn far with the pictures though. Not the a-hole. They violated the spirit of their own ethic of informed, enthusiastic consent by not consulting with you ahead of time and negotiating an arrangement that made everyone comfortable in your living space. You knew what were in advance is utter arsehattery. You were clearly vanilla AF and can't possibly be expected to know what any given group of kinksters were going to want to do without being clearly informed. They were being crap roommates and a bad example of alternative lifestyle followers. I mean, I'm far from vanilla AF, and I wouldn't want porn, their sex toys, and a tacky condom ball in our shared living room either. God, can you imagine how awkward that'd be if his parents came over, or if he met someone new and wanted to bring them home? Ah yes, welcome to my crib. Leave your shoes here, the bathroom is right there if you need it, and feel free to grab a snack or anything. Right here, you'll see a picture of me and my dad when we went to Disneyland, and right beside it, there's an exquisite photo of my roommate's dick. What? You're leaving? Ah, okay, don't forget to grab a gift baggie from the condom ball on your way out. Posted by user Sweet Carolina, titled, Am I the a-hole for forcing my foster daughter to go to church? So my husband, 50 male, and I, 46 female, are foster parents, usually for teenage girls. We currently have 3 daughters who are 15, 14, and 15, S, J, and B. S is our biological daughter, and we adopted J when she was 13 and B when she was 15. Every Sunday, my husband and I go to church. The kids are invited but aren't required to go. We have a cute downtown area with shops and little food places near the church. So usually I'll give the girls around $30 between them to buy themselves breakfast and let them window shop. We've recently taken in a 4th girl called H. When we asked H if she wanted to go, she said no, and that she wanted to stay at the house while we're out. I told her that it's usually an all-day outing because after church, the family usually goes shopping for the next week's food and maybe out to lunch. H was labelled as a flight risk, but I wanted to show that we trusted her, so I let her stay home. She was nowhere to be found when we got back, and we had to call her caseworker and go find her. Luckily, they found her and brought her back that night. The next week, I told her that she had to come with the family out because I couldn't trust her not to leave. I told her she could stay with the girls and get breakfast/coffee and hang out. While my husband and I were in church, H took the money I'd given the girls and ran away. She didn't get very far and was brought back to us again. The week after that, I told her that since she can't be trusted not to run away or steal, she had to come into the service with us. She could have her headphones in and listen to music, but she had to be sitting next to us. Our caseworker told us that this was an acceptable consequence because of her past behavior. We went, and she sat in the service the whole time listening to music on her phone, but she wasn't happy about it. I explained to her that once we were able to trust her not to try and run away when she wasn't supervised, she could stay home or go with the other girls. Now, H is a good girl, and is for the most part well behaved. Like the other 3 girls, she is in therapy, but she just seems to not want to stay with any home that cares about her. I was having a conversation with a friend of my husband who also fosters younger kids under 10. I told him about how H had to go to church with us because of her past behavior and how we are hoping that we can work through whatever feelings she has and hopefully stop her from running. Friend told us that it was wrong to have H come to church with us when she didn't want to go, and we should just let her stay home. He's never had a child with a history of running, so I don't think he understood the situation. We ended up getting into an argument about it because we live close to a city where sex trafficking is common. I honestly care about H, and I don't want anything to happen to her. He eventually told me that we were bad foster parents because H kept running away, and it must be something that we're doing. Am I the a-hole for forcing H to come to church? I can't really talk on this one either since I'm not experienced in the foster care system, but I know that they're trying to do their best for the kid, and she's obviously young, she's rebelling against it. I don't think you can completely blame her for that, and you can't completely blame OP for their actions. This, forced sitting with them in church didn't come out of nowhere. This is, third strike. I think it's more than reasonable, and it's a slow step to getting them to trust her, and getting her to trust them. And I think that they're not the a-hole as a result of that, and this man is blind, I guess he's blind. Not the a-hole. I was so ready to call you a dick, but you're not forcing her because you're trying to convert her or anything. You're forcing her because of concerns for her safety and well-being. Totally justified move. And I just want to let you know that I think it's great that your family's policy on church is invited, not required. You seem like awesome people. Thanks. I don't want to force religion on my kids if that's not something they want to pursue. Sometimes they'll come to church, but most of the time they go out to breakfast and hang out with each other. I too was super ready to call you guys a-holes for this, but even the caseworker deemed this acceptable. You gave her several chances and didn't immediately go to this as punishment. Not the a-hole. Having her with you at church sounded like it had nothing to do with pressuring her towards religion, especially since you even explicitly said she could do stuff to not be present or involved. I think anyone taking issue with what you decided will be stuck on that point. She ran twice, and her safety takes priority for the time being. I feel you've been very patient and understanding, honestly, and should be commended for how you're handling the situation from my standpoint. Meanwhile, I feel said friend isn't understanding the situation and is jumping the gun though. Plus, listening to music and messing around on her phone is probably nearly the same as what she'd be doing if she were at home anyway. Definitely not the a-hole. Posted by user throwaway35269, titled, Am I the a-hole for getting angry at my mum for suggesting my attire is seductive to my dad? As the title suggests, I can't believe I'm actually making this post. Throwaway account, obviously. I, 23 female, have always disagreed with my mother, 60 female, on various things politically, but I'm not going to go into detail on them here because I don't think they are very relevant to the discussion at hand. She's just a really conservative woman is the background I'm trying to provide here. We are not religious. Anyways, today I walked downstairs to make breakfast for both of us in my nightgown. Just a plain one, nothing funky, not see-through obviously, and shorts. My entire chest was covered to the neck, nor was I showing shoulders. She stared at me for a while, and commented that I should not walk down like I'm not wearing anything underneath, as my dad, 63 male, we have an ordinary relationship, may see it and get ideas. I was shocked and said, 1, I'm wearing nothing revealing, not a bikini suit, and 2, it's very disturbing that she would suggest my dad would get incestuous thoughts from looking at his damn daughter. She got defensive and backtracked, saying it's just not in accordance with her views and men would be men, and to which point I had enough and blew up at her, saying I couldn't believe she would suggest her husband and daughter would have such thoughts just because I wore something that is as short as my thighs. I said, if it bothers you so much, I'll just go change into long pants and a shirt in this 40 degrees Celsius summer weather. Now she's saying that I overreacted and put words in her mouth and thinks that I'm the a-hole. My dad is not home yet, and I'm honestly too embarrassed to bring this up and hope that she doesn't either. Am I the a-hole? No. What is wrong with your mum? Why is she bringing that up? That's ridiculous. Incredibly ridiculous. I would be embarrassed if my mum brought that up to me. And I'm sure a lot of people would too. That's not a normal thing to say. Why would your dad have incestuous thoughts? Why does that mum have that insecurity? That's so creepy. That mum is the one reflecting and projecting some weird and problematic bloody fantasy going on in her head. Does she need some medication? What is going on here? Opie, you're definitely not the a-hole. Edit. Many people are asking me to consider the possibility if my mother was sexually abused in the past, perhaps by her own family. Obviously, I wasn't there throughout her childhood, so I can never say anything with 100% certainty, but she has a very close relationship with her parents even till today. She calls them once or twice every week for hours. They spoiled her rotten since the minute she was born. I grew up with my maternal grandparents until I was 6, and merely speaking out of my own experience, I never had any inappropriate encounters with any men in my family from either side. I guess she has just never really had the need grow up, because she got spoiled by her father and then by her husband. There's a lot of gossip in my extended family that she is the real child of our household, because when she gets upset, everyone has to do things her way. Edit 2. Some people asked why I would bother posting a question thinking there's a possibility I'm the a-hole. 1. I come from a traditional East Asian household where children are expected to be obedient to their parents, even into adulthood. 2. I was wondering if I overreacted by blowing up and yelling, or just made a huge deal out of nothing in general. Not the a-hole. That's super creepy. I hope your dad and you have continued to have a normal relationship. We always have. I've always been closer to my dad than mum, and their marriage isn't exactly amicable. I get my mother could be insecure, etc., but I know deep down my dad loves my mum in his own way, and that's why he put up with all her crap over the years. I understand my mum's struggle, but I believe this time she took it way too far. Thank you for your kind wishes. Opie, please tell your dad. If my wife thought these sort of things and expressed them to our daughter, I'd want to know so I could deal with it. She made a terrible accusation against him, and he deserves to know what sort of woman he's married to. I don't disagree, but I'm guessing she hangs this on all males, sexually tempted by their own daughters if not stopped, as opposed to being him specifically. Or she could be jealous of the quote-unquote normal, probably loving relationship that he has with his daughter and may be projecting that jealousy onto them, which is way more insidious to be honest, so I really hope it's yours. Not the a-hole. Creepy mummy needs to get a clue. First of all, he's your dad. Second, women should not have to change so men can control themselves. I agree with both your points, especially the second one. Well said, and I've been trying to get this point across to my mum for years, with no avail, lol. Ironically, my dad gets it. The idea goes directly against her conservative / from a different time / evidence to the contrary be damned, blame the female at all costs ideas. I've been trying for years to get similar ideas across to my mother / parents to no avail. Mine are super religious, and these old school ideas are deeply rooted religious communities. Hence, why I've had zero luck. Hopefully you and your dad will continue to have a great relationship, and your mum can get over herself. Posted by user Throwaway82929. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not wearing a bra around my cousin who's recovering from a porn addiction? So I, female 18, have gone braless for almost 2 years now. I wear bralettes or sports bras on the occasion, but you won't catch me in a padded bra. For what it's worth, I'm super flat anyways, and most of the time people really can't tell the difference. On to the story. I was invited yesterday to a small barbecue with close family at my grandmother's house. It was 98 degrees out, and the whole event was outside. I have 4 cousins, one of which is male 25. And it's a well-known fact now in our family that he's recovering from a porn addiction. He lost his fiancée of 2 years due to it, but recently he's been doing better. It's obviously not something anyone ever brings up or talks about due to the nature of the subject. Well, I was wearing a strapless top with no bra on, and halfway through, my aunt had asked me if I could go put something different on, or a coat, because she was worried I was going to put thoughts into my cousin's head that could sway his progress. I was offended, and I told her I wouldn't be changing because it's too hot. I'm his cousin. He shouldn't be looking at me like that anyways, and if he can't see a set of shoulders or a tube top, that must mean he can't go outside at all. They left early, and since then, I've been getting slammed by all my family for ruining the 4th of July get-together and ruining my cousin's progress and life. I feel like crap, and I'm regretting that I didn't just change, so am I the a-hole? Thanks in advance. I agree that porn addiction is a serious thing to be getting over, but forcing everyone to cover up and not making him face his demons isn't the right way to help him get over that porn addiction. He's obviously got some coping mechanisms that he needs to get through, and he's probably going to therapy, we can assume, so he is slowly getting better. He needs to be, put out there with everyone else and exposed to these things such as shoulders and strapless tops so that he becomes desensitized once again. What this woman is doing to OP is stupid and slut-shaming, and that's not acceptable. In this case, OP, you are definitely not the a-hole, and I don't think that you overreacted. Not the a-hole. Your body is your body, no one else. A. He should not be looking at his cousin this way. B. Your aunt should not be trying to sexualize you and your cousin. C. If he had the issue, he should have stepped out and away, rather than letting his mum make a scene. And if he didn't say something and she kicked off, does she really have that little faith about her son, that he would sexualize his cousin that way? Adding to C, if the mother didn't talk to him before talking to OP, I bet he was pretty damn embarrassed. Oh, sorry my mum has such little faith in me that she feels it necessary to announce to my family that I probably want to bang my cousin because her shoulders are showing. My son is definitely going to be masturbating later, and it's all your fault. Oh, that went kinky fast. And as Lil Moy says, it is not a woman's job to keep a man's mind away from his dirty thoughts. I like Jesus' take on this. If you can't stop ogling women, then why not cut out your eyes to prevent yourself from sinning? And if you're worried that your right hand might sin by assaulting a woman, then that problem is easily fixed by cutting off your hand. No hand, no assault. It is entirely within your power to prevent yourself from sinning. Stab out your own eyes if you can't handle the temptation that you see, for you're the thirsty one, so saith the Lord. Can I get an amen in the comments? Addiction is serious, but at the same time, you have a point with this. If he can't see a set of shoulders or a tube top, that must mean he can't go outside at all. Alcoholics have to stay away from bars and liquor stores. It's a daily struggle to avoid temptation. We all have to do our part to help them, but I think your family was being too demanding and crappy to you about it. I've been getting slammed by all my family for ruining the 4th of July get-together and ruining my cousin's progress and life. You didn't ruin his life. His addiction issues ruined it. Maybe seeing your attire could have triggered a relapse, but gross, he's your cousin. But that's part of the struggle with addiction. We can all try to tailor our behavior to suit them, but you're still entitled to dress comfortably. A tube or strapless top isn't overly obscene in my opinion. Had they abstained from shaming you, I would have said no a-holes here, but they went overboard with it. Not the a-hole. Alright, and I think that's where we're going to leave today's episode, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the content today. If you guys loved watching it as much as I loved making it, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel already if you haven't. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below, maybe like the video, who knows. I'd also like to take this time to thank my awesome Patreon and channel members. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be homeless on the streets of Ireland, crying, Irish dancing all over town. It would just be a mess. But no, for real, you guys are up on the screen now. Thank each and every one of you guys. And if you personally want to join the club yourself, there are links down in the description below. There's also the join button next to the subscribe button. Small monthly fee, but hey, it goes a long way to help me create more awesome content. Well, with that said, guys, I hope you do have a lovely day, night, sleep, evening, day at work, day at school, whatever you're up to. I hope you keep awesome today. You're looking amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.